Let's give them something to cheer for now.
Go ahead. I dare you to jump into my roster.
Time now for the College Football Inquirer. Here's Pat, Russ, and Dan.
All right, welcome to the pod. Hope everyone had a good 4th of July weekend, including Ross, who somehow got his ass unemployed over the weekend. I don't know what happened.
Dan, I'm taping the pod without pants on.
There you are. You're
officially unemployed, at least for a couple weeks. So there you go.
Okay. Well, yeah, you're like was that movie Friday? Like, how'd you get fired on your day off? I don't know. No, look. The media industry is like many industries, fraught with uncertainty. So Ross is leaving Sports Illustrated, but he's we're at least. Well, he can tell you. We don't seem to be. Yeah. We don't want to make light of people losing their job because there's a lot of jobs getting lost. But
yeah,
seems like you're going to be employed again. What are we doing here, buddy? Are you all right? You need some coupons?
No.
The hat.
I know. I kind of phrased my goodbye tweet in a way where plenty of people thought I was laid off or fired. Thankfully, that isn't the case. I left SI. It's kind of time to move on, and I got some things finalizing, but I would guess in the next couple weeks, we'll probably find a new home. But for now, at least for a couple weeks, I'm unemployed and enjoying it thoroughly.
Well, you can tell us. We won't tell anybody. Where are you going? What's going on?
Can we break it on the pod? Yeah.
Sources close to the pod.
Yeah.
But I will remain with the pod either way, of course, which people,
so.
I say what most of the replies to my announcement were, wait, what's happening with the pod? Are you going to stay on the pod? What's going on with the pod? And I'm like, man, it's like I don't even write anymore.
Yes, we're sad to see you leaving Sports Illustrated, but I am very happy you're still going to be with us here on the pod. So
yep.
We are our fabled, much anticipated Nashville meetup is still on schedule, on task, on track for all of us to be there. So
we still haven't picked a bar, though.
Yeah, we still haven't picked a place.
And I think we're just going to do a meetup, no show.
Yeah. Keep it simple.
Keep it simple. No show. Just a meetup. We're just going to a bar and you can show up or not. Easy. Easy choice. I don't know. We'll get more details. Now that you had nothing to do, Ross, you can take the point on this.
There we go.
Yeah, let me steer the ship right into an iceberg if that would happen.
You make yourself
Party
productive to society,
Ross
please.
Dellenger.
My God. All right. Well, we'll have more details, I guess, in the future. But Ross isn't going anywhere, according to this pod. Let's at least at this point. So we're not going to lose him. We're not going to lose him. All right. Wanted to bring this up. There were a bunch of, I guess it makes some sense. A lot of kids wanted to commit to their colleges over July 4th weekend, maybe do it with their family or some celebration. There were some pretty good ones. Arkansas got a good receiver out of Texas, Ashton Bethel Roman. Texas A&M got Cam Coleman, a 5-star receiver out of Phoenix City, Alabama, which is right by Auburn.
Yeah.
That was a that kind of popped. You figure
Message Board Genius has had a great compilation of Auburn fan reactions to that one.
Yeah. They were not happy, I'm guessing.
Yeah, not happy.
I'm sure it was just because A&M paid. And the good folks at Auburn would never.
Never. Auburn football pay players? What?
No.
Yeah.
You guys should have gotten that done 3 years ago. But yeah, he's not going to Auburn. He's not going to Alabama. And Phoenix City is right on the edge there. Well, your favorite town, Columbus. It's right near Columbus, isn't it?
Yes.
Across the river, maybe?
The sister city across the river. Yeah.
Could have gone to Georgia. Could have gone to Florida State. Could have gone to anywhere. Going to A&M. So that was a big one. The one I want to discuss, though, is Justin Scott, who is a 5-star defensive end. He's from St. Ignatius in Chicago. He's ranked 5 stars. Everyone's got him in the top 20. Some got him in the top 10. I think his composite on 24/7 is 14th. Everybody wanted him. For a long time, Notre Dame was considered the leader. And in the end, it came down to apparently Notre Dame, Michigan, and Ohio State. And Justin chose the Buckeyes, which set off, I don't know if there was a message. I'm sure the message boards handled it well for Notre Dame.
Of course.
So look, he cited Larry Johnson, the defensive line coach, and just that. I mean, great player, great recruit, signs with Ohio State is sort of dog bites man story, right? Not a real big thing, but this was the one that Marcus Freeman and the Irish had clearly targeted, and in the end could not close the deal on. A year ago, they were really close with Keon Keeley, a top 10 defensive lineman. Now, he was down in Florida. They couldn't get him. He committed for a long time, then ended up decommitting, flipping to Alabama. There was the whole Peyton Bowen linebacker he's from Texas, who ends up at Oklahoma. There was he went to Oregon for like a day, all sorts of stuff. So I'll posit it with this. Notre Dame is doing very well. Marcus Freeman is recruiting very well. They are 6th currently. They got 13 4-stars, maybe even higher in some of the things. They'll probably end up with the 10th or 11th best class, something like that. But what we haven't seen in 2 recruiting cycles is what the Irish fans were hoping, in that you have this young, exciting coach known as a recruiter, and he was the one that could maybe get Notre Dame in with that truly elite 5-star recruit that might be able to put them over the top and into not just have great seasons. Notre Dame will continue to do. Again, their recruiting is very good, but it's just not at that top level. And there's only so many top 10, 15 kids that are even going to look at Notre Dame, especially when you can get one at a Catholic school in Chicago. So, long way to discuss what's up with the Irish program. Can they get there and do that? Or are they basically recruiting at the same level they had under Brian Kelly? Very good, but in Kelly's own opinion, not good enough to actually win a national title. Pat?
Yeah, TBD, but it's interesting. This is one of those developments. You touched on 2 pieces there that for Notre Dame, when you get a star out of Chicago and his school begins with the word saint, you think that could be a Notre Dame lean. It's a Catholic school, and I know they invested hard in trying to get him. He took at least 3 visits, unofficial or official, whatever, in 2021, 2022, 2023. But ends up going to the Buckeyes, and yeah, nobody blames you. I mean, losing out to Ohio State is, especially for a Larry Johnson recruit, is not, a sign that the world is slipping away from you by any means. But this is one Notre Dame wanted, and to your larger point of where is the recruiting upgrade? I don't know. We'll see. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and say 18 months into Marcus Freeman's tenure that he isn't able to recruit at a level higher than Brian Kelly. But it hasn't quite materialized yet. He's doing well, doing very well, but they are not crushing it. They had some great early success, and then some of those guys decommitted, changed their minds. Perhaps even more significantly, they had a number of fairly important skill players transfer out in the spring this last year. They got a big transfer in Sam Hartman at quarterback, but a lot of guys that they were also counting on to help them offensively transferred out. So I think they need to firm up that the new offensive coaching staff can do the job, and that will probably on the field, and that will probably help them recruit off the field. And then, yeah, Freeman's got to close a couple more deals. Again, I'm not like hitting the warning button yet on them, the panic button, but it's going to be an interesting one to watch as the rest of this 2024 recruiting cycle unfolds.
Yeah, we always talk about like the specifically the SEC teams, but also the powerhouses like Ohio State, maybe Michigan and Clemson or whatever. And the separating factor between those, again, especially with some of these SEC teams, is elite defensive linemen, specifically usually 5-star D linemen. And this is a good example of that, right? Of another elite powerhouse landing a 5-star D lineman. And it's those, if you lose, too many of them, if you're Notre Dame and you lose too many of them, that's what separates you on the field. So this was a big one, but I'll kind of echo what you guys said. They've been recruiting at a pretty high level. I mean, like Dan said, I think there's 6 right now, 13 4-stars. They're above out recruiting right now teams like Penn State and Oregon and A&M and LSU. So doing really well, and that was, I know, a big part of why they went with Freeman is his ability to recruit, and his likability among players, among recruits. So yeah, no panic button just yet, but losing too many of those 5-stars, specifically 5-stars on the defensive line, on the defensive front, losing too many would not be good.
Yeah, and I think panic button's the good word, because why would you hit the panic button? The guy's going to land like the 10th best recruiting class, and they got a quarterback in CJ Carr coming. They got 2 top 50 players. Maybe it might end up with 3 according to 24/7, and 3 per rival. Whatever. Rivals has them 4th right now. There's great possibilities here. You got CJ Carr, which is good. Elijah Rushing is a big edge from Arizona that they are working hard to get and are definitely in the mix. But, you got to go to Arizona to get them. It's harder than the St. Ignatius, as Pat said, the Catholic schools. So they're recruiting very well. I think it's more just like frustrating. I got to imagine if you're a Notre Dame fan, you're just like frustrated that for whatever reason, they just can't close the deal on this guy. And the kind of thought was, well, because we've talked before, and like Brian Kelly, the job Brian Kelly did there wasn't given enough credit, because we had all those years before Brian Kelly where people like Notre Dame will never matter again. Right. Notre Dame can never be good. And Brian Kelly got them really good. And he was a great coach, and they kind of maxed out. What did they make? 2 playoffs and a BCS title game? Is that right?
Yeah. Yep.
Right. They did really well, but how do you get, and we could do this, well, maybe we will, about, Michigan didn't get them either. So, and it's hard to beat Ohio State in recruiting. Like the only teams that beat Ohio State in recruiting are like Georgia, Bama, and Clemson, everyone, it's hard to do. Not many 5-stars tend to go all together. It's where they're going. But there was just this thought of like, hey, it was like because Freeman came in and all of a sudden all these kids were, it was like, well, we got Keon Kelly, we got Peyton Bowen, we're going to get Dante Moore out of Detroit, all this stuff. And it was all this excitement, and it just hasn't quite got there. I don't know. It's Notre Dame's a unique place. You have to live in a real dorm. Single sex, I think they're single sex dorms.
We have to live with a non-athlete your first year too.
Yeah, you got to have a regular roommate. You don't have, you can't just hide out and with the football team. I'm sure the kids in Notre Dame have fun, but this is not, they're not throwing foam parties at the it's not a party school. It's a serious school. You have to take real classes. There are no joke majors to hide. It's not that big. It's not that diverse. It's in South Bend, Indiana. It's not Columbus, or, you say, well, it's all the Midwest. No, Ann Arbor, Columbus, and Madison, if you will, would be, most people would look and go, oh, it's a more livable city, right? Or whatever you want. So how do you get over that hump? I don't know. I'm convinced the playoff will help in small degrees to some of these schools. And the path Notre Dame has to a playoff, if they can get in, and not just get in and then get boat raced by Alabama, but win a game or two. I just think winning a game in a playoff, like think about what TCU got out of beating Michigan and winning something. And then they got boat raced. But they won the game. And it's like, we won, that excitement, and you get in and you win a couple games. Could that be enough to start making, maybe then you have a little bit bigger pool of these kids that are looking and saying, hey, I'm not completely turned off by, I got to live with like some kid from Indianapolis. Like what? Like, what is this? Is there something that can be done to get that edge? Because they're going to get QBs, they're going to get some guys, but they just haven't been able to get there. And Brian Kelly seemed to be the one that was like, I can't do it,
Right. But that, I mean, I think that remains to be seen, but that it can happen. I do think it can. I think that it will help them considerably if after kind of rebooting the coaching staff and a lot of transfer churn, year 2 for Marcus Freeman goes well. Last year was bumpy. It was up and down. He didn't come. He opened with Ohio State on the road in his first game as the full-time head coach, and then they come back. They lose Marshall, and they'd had quarterback injuries. They kind of never got going well enough to really establish a lot of momentum, I thought. So I give them a chance here. We'll see what they've got. What they put around Sam Hartman, but they've got a soft launch to the schedule. Navy, Tennessee State, at NC State could be tricky, and then Central Michigan, and then Ohio State comes to you. If you get off 4-0, you maybe lose to Ohio State, maybe you don't, but then you come back and you got an ACC stretch of the schedule, and then you got USC and in South Bend. I mean, the back half schedule isn't easy, but you've got some chances here. I think, if they're worse than 9-3, then I think you start questioning what's going on.
Their 22 schedule is one of the more roller coaster, insane schedules I think I've seen from a team. The most like erratic results I've seen on a football schedule, like that I can remember ever, right? Like losing to Marshall, losing to Stanford, beating Clemson, beating North Carolina, hanging for a while with Ohio State. It was the most bizarre season. And I'm sure that has to have an impact on recruits one way or the other. I don't know how a lot of them are looking at it. I'm sure there was a lot of recruits at that Clemson game at home at Notre Dame, but I'm sure there were a few recruits there or watching certainly when they lost to Marshall and Stanford. So they need a little more consistency, and as Pat was laying it out, they might be able to get that, especially you would think early on, the first month or so before they get the Buckeyes.
They do get all these big. This is the thing about Notre Dame. You go to Notre Dame, you're going to play in huge games.
Yeah.
Like you just mentioned. So they got Ohio State, Clemson, and USC.
Yep.
All three of those are monster games. We talked a couple weeks ago about Texas going to have in a couple years like 4 huge game day type games. They're going to get 3 of them. And again, 5 stars are hard to get. I'm looking at the 24/7. Only 7 schools have got a 5-star commit right now. Ohio State's got 4, Georgia and Alabama 3, Florida 2, Clemson 2, A&M now has that 1, and Florida State has 1. Rivals is a little stingier at this stage. They've got 2 to Ohio State, 2 to Georgia, 1 to Bama, 1 to Florida, and 1 to Michigan. Who's there? That must be their QB, right? Who's their 5-star?
QB from Charlotte.
Yeah, Jaden Davis. Okay.
Yeah.
So on the other side here, Ohio State is again, this is not a shocker, but Ohio State is recruiting at an extremely elite level. Higher, Michigan's getting a lot of hype for their recruits, but it's Ohio State that's recruiting at the Georgia, Alabama level again. And whatever talk there seemed to be about, oh my God, Ryan Day, you can't beat Michigan. You didn't win the Big Ten 2 years in a row. It does not seem to be a problem here on the recruiting trail. They have 5 top 50 players, 6 top hundreds. and plenty more. They have a potential to get the best defensive line class going. They seem to be absolutely rolling for this. So I don't know, thoughts on Ryan Day holding it together, to say the least. And they're recruiting at a higher level than Michigan. Straight up, they will continue to have better on paper talent than Michigan, whatever that's worth. I don't worry about Michigan because Harbaugh just always wins and finds these guys. He's just always done that. But if I'm Buckeye fan, I'm feeling pretty good about all these guys I got.
Absolutely. I mean, if you look at rivals and you do the per player star average, it's higher than Georgia. It's number one, 3.94. Nobody has one higher, I don't believe. Check Alabama down here. They don't know. Alabama doesn't have many recruits yet. Nope, Alabama's 3.8.
They'll get there.
Yeah, they'll get there. They'll get there. Another school we don't necessarily worry about. But no, Ryan Day, absolutely elite recruiter. That's one of the reasons he got the job. And that train isn't slowing down anytime, I don't think. So they're going to keep getting guys. And then the question is Ryan Day a guy who can take the best or second best or third best talent and actually win a national championship? That's the TBD for him.
Yeah, that's the thing, right? Ohio State's been fairly loaded for the last several years, and haven't won it all. They have 4 5-stars right now, right? The most of anyone that I can tell. The second or third most 4-stars. I was looking through their position rankings of some of these guys, some of their commitments, and yeah, it's pretty incredible. At their position, their rankings are 1st, 3rd, 6th, 4th, 5th, 8th, 10th. So they have eight in the top 10 at their position. So pretty incredible.
Not bad.
Not bad. A desirable place to attend college, the Ohio State University.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Speaking of recruitments, San Diego State. They're still in the mount. Someone explain this to me. Ross, can you explain what is San Diego State?
Where are they? Yes.
On Independence Day weekend, did they go independent or not? Or are they hiding in the Mountain West until the gas station TV deal comes through?
Well, let's go back through this thing. It's been crazy. Right. It's been 6 total it's been 6 total letters sent between the Mountain West and San Diego State. Each sent maybe 3 letters to one another, and it's this letter exchange. And it started. I'll try to go through it as quickly as I can. So San Diego State started it by sending a letter to the Mountain West about 3 weeks ago, maybe, that said, our intention is to eventually withdraw and exit the conference. And they asked in there to move back the deadline to withdraw, which was July or June 30th, to move it back. Because at that point, their exit fee would double if they withdrew after that point. So they were asking the Mountain West not only to move that back to like August 1 or July 31st, but they were also asking to reduce the exit fee, and they were asking for some other things. So Mountain West sent the second letter, came from the Mountain West, and they basically said in the letter, no, we're not going to move the date, we're not going to move the deadline, and we're not going to reduce your exit fee. And we consider your letter a withdrawal. So you're done with us. You're done with us after 2023, and we're going to withhold our distribution this year. And, oh, by the way, you owe us $17 million for your exit fee. The Mountain West, the San Diego State had the third letter, and it basically said, whoa, we just announced our intention to withdraw, not a formal withdrawal, basically. So that went back and forth. And this past weekend's latest news was San Diego State on June 30th, the deadline day, sending a letter to the Mountain West reaffirming their position that they never withdrew. They plan to remain in the league at least for another couple years. And then the Mountain West responded in the latest and last letter, I believe the most recent letter, saying, well, we considered your original letter of withdrawal. You will be withheld from distribution for now, and you owe an exit fee. The board of the Mountain West Board of Presidents meets later this month to kind of determine more. Here's the thing. The Mountain West needs San Diego State, right? It's its bell cow, whatever you want to call it. And it would love nothing more than San Diego State to remain forever in the Mountain West. We certainly would mind it to at least remain one more year, which it plans to do or wants to do. So I'm sure they'll figure this out where San Diego State can stay in the league and participate in 2024. However, it might come at a cost. It might come at some kind of cost. The Mountain West and their presidents might use this in some kind of leverage with San Diego State. And so they'll meet, I think it's at the end of July, the Mountain West Board meets, and we'll know more after that. But quite a saga. And I have to say, like the San Diego State sending the original letter in the way it was worded, and just sending a letter in general asking that, it probably wasn't the smartest thing to do. The president's office there probably didn't make the best decision there.
Don't put it in writing. That's
yeah.
If there's one thing we've learned in these college athletic times, is people are usually very hesitant to put things like that in writing, and they did. This really, frankly, like this is some of the most interesting letter writing since before the telephone was invented. When people had to write letters, maybe before the telegraph and all that. And it would be great. I could picture the president of San Diego State like sitting there with an ink quill and a feather pen, writing it out. And then you hand it to a courier who gets on a horse and he rides across Southern California to Colorado Springs to the Mountain West offices.
It's like Washington directing the troops.
Right. Where the troops can't move because it's going to take 5 days for the courier to get the letter here. So,
are we using stamps here? Like, is there an actual stamp?
I want to know.
I mean, this is a sport that still uses the fax, or did until recently on the NIL. And everyone was like, I can't sign my NIL because we don't have a fax anymore. But there's a snail mail. I like it. Old school.
Right. Yeah, you get a manila envelope 3 days later.
We love our postal workers. Let's go. Thank you, Mountain West and San Diego State.
But no, this is fascinating. And I was at the Final Four, and really even before that, the Sweet 16 and the regional final in Louisville and then in Houston. And Gloria Nevarez, the president of the Mountain West Conference, is wearing her red and her black for every game and cheering like heck for San Diego State. Meanwhile, all the while in the background is this underlying tension of knowing San Diego State is trying to leave. But hey, for now, they're ours and we're behind them, and go Mountain West. And they go all the way to the championship game. And now it's like, oh, no, you're out. You tried to leave, so we're kicking you out. And San Diego State's trying to pull the George Costanza, where he's fired by the Yankees but keeps showing up to work. That's kind of what they're trying to do.
The guy in Office Space, the check just kept coming, right?
Mm-hmm.
The stapler. Yeah. Well, look, they got caught cheating. They got caught cheating. Yeah. And now then they say, well, I want back in. They said, no, you move out. And they said, I got me back in. And then, okay, you can come back in, but you're going to have to become a pretty good church man for a little while here. You're going to have to... Those garbage cans better be out first thing. Dishes. Oh, no, you're not watching the football. Oh, no, we're watching Bachelorette every episode together. Like, you got to do some penance here at San Diego State.
The crazy thing about this is, obviously they were trying to, the thought was they were going to get an invitation from the Pac-12 and start in Pac-12 play in 2024. And now pretty clearly, right, they according to their latest letter to the Mountain West, they are going to want to, at least for play in the Mountain West in 24. The question now is, well, what's going on with the Pac-12 then? Like the thought was that the Pac-12 was going to get a TV deal enough to be able to split the distribution by another team at least, or maybe two other teams. And SMU was involved, obviously, in expansion talks. I mean, George Clavcourt visited campus, was caught visiting campus at a basketball game. And now you think, well, wait a second, is the Pac-12 TV deal going to be, is the situation going to be where there's not enough dough to go around and add 2 more teams? It sure looks like that's where we're heading down. And maybe the Pac-12 doesn't expand at all. Or obviously maybe it waits to 25, but I don't know. I we talk about this revenue distribution and media rights on this show a lot. And one of the things is, people don't really understand, but you have a pie, and you got to cut it. Everybody gets an equal cut of the pie. And if you add another mouth to feed, so to speak, the cut for everybody gets a little narrower, a little slimmer, a little smaller. And maybe there's just not going to be enough to go around. And the Pac-12 board met Friday morning, the board of presidents, and basically was shared the kind of framework, very general framework of a deal. A few people seem to come away pretty happy and positive, but one of the sentiments that they came away with was maybe we don't expand. Maybe this doesn't happen.
Boy, oh boy. I mean, that would be, it could be a massive faceplant if that's the case, for a couple of reasons. First of all, they gave every indication they wanted to expand, were going to expand. San Diego State was the backyard layup. They want to keep a foothold in Southern California. But then if a year later, after crunching numbers, like, never mind, we're just going with what we got, I wouldn't think that speaks well to the overall vision and deal making of the conference, and it would leave some people hung out to dry. And I think it would probably, unless the deal's definitely a good one for the 10 that would remain, I think it would embolden the Big 12 to try even more, to say, look, you guys, you got no future there. You got nothing. You're not going to be able to grow. You're just going to be stagnant. Come with us. We're going to grow. I don't know it, but that would be my quick initial read if this ends up with the Pac-12 being a 10-team conference going forward.
I'd say this, man. If I could there's many magic wands I would wave, but if we had a whole bunch of 10-team conferences, the sport would be like 10 is how big a conference should be.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right.
Yep.
Yeah.
Play round robin, and then you have your title game, or I don't know what, or get rid of your title game and add But I get it. I don't know. I wonder, you'd have to run the data or have a lot of very on the ground recruiting people. Will the Pac-12 get more players from Southern California by playing in San Diego and having San Diego State, but then empowering San Diego State to keep kids home? Or do you get more by trying to keep San Diego State down and still being basically the only D1? Like, if you want to stay somewhat local and you live in Southern California, the only places to go are UCLA and USC. That's been their advantages as programs forever. Because it's like, well, you either go a long way away or you stay here. And so, like, Arizona and Arizona State, particularly, and the whole Pac-12 has feasted on that by being able to jump in and say, hey, you're still in the area. Mom doesn't have to get on a plane and go all the way to, I don't know. That's what's going to be interesting. I don't know what that plays out. Staying in California quickly, because I think we just have an update on this. We talked about this California bill that was going to, I personally thought was a terrible bill. It was going to totally upend college sports by making employee, I don't know. We don't have to worry about it, right, Ross? At least for a year?
Yeah. It was the revenue sharing bill. So it's going to require California schools to share revenue, a certain portion of revenue with their athletes. And it was on the way. There's two houses in the state legislature there in California, and it passed one. So it was heading to another where it had a lot of hurdles to go. But the author of the bill, Representative Holden, I think over the weekend delayed it, put it on delay until next year. So it was supposed to be, if it passed this summer, it was supposed to be implemented in January, which had college athletic administrators pretty fearful and a little anxious. It was being used, the California bill, to move Congress to get some kind of federal legislation, but now it's at least a year delayed. Now, why it was delayed, I don't really know. There was certainly some scuttle that Holden, the author of it, was going to lose or is going to lose his seat as chairmanship in the assembly, which would impact the course of the bill. But without getting into all that political reasons, the bottom line is that it's been delayed for a year, and for college athletic administrators, at least, it's a very long sigh of relief.
Yeah, boy. I mean, there had been major pushback from administrators, even athletes. I mean, they had the group of Olympic gold medalists who went to Capitol Hill to work on the California politicians there and others because they think that it'll end up killing Olympic sports. So they the pushback has been significant, and whether how much that's had the effect versus what Ross outlined about the bill's author, I don't know, but I think that's one where they are happy to avoid having to confront that as a reality for as long as possible.
All right. Well, at least we can avoid that. We got anonymous Pac-12 coach talking to Athlon.
Okay.
Ripping Coach Prime. Throwing water on Coach Prime up in Colorado. Now, the anonymous coach, who knows? Who knows if this is, I don't know. Did they say this? Is there, what is the coach? Is it a head coach? Is it a line coach? Is it whatever? Do they really mean this? Or by giving anonymity, are they allowed to try to crap on Colorado because they don't like them? Or did they really believe this? I'm in favor of named coaches when you're just talking smack. It's one thing when you have reasons to be, whistleblowers or something maybe, but here we go. It's juicy, if nothing else. So one anonymous Pac-12 coach. This is from On3, aggregating it, but it was in Athlon. Believes this unconventional way that Coach Prime's doing the roster will hurt Colorado in the long run. Feels like a lose-lose for Colorado with Prime. I like the coaches are calling him Prime.
He'd like that too. He demands to be called Coach Prime.
Interesting. Most of these got Coach Sanders. Feels like a lose-lose for Colorado with Prime. Either he's going to be really good, really fast, and leave for another gig, which looking at the roster doesn't seem possible. The alternative is that they're going to be bad and they'll end up firing him in a big circus. Jackson State was so good because they could get FBS level guys and beat on FCS rosters. That won't happen here. They're not a good roster right now. How does he handle losing big? We haven't seen that. They were 1-11 last year. Talk about lose-lose.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, I mean, first of all, the fact that anybody wants to talk about Colorado is a significant step forward.
Talk smack about me. Yeah. Talk some
right.
It's like, hey.
Nobody said a word about him because nobody cared. And now at least there's a reason to care and a reason to watch and curiosity. And I mean, the points made by the anonymous coach might well be salient. I mean, there's definitely concerns about the way the roster's built, that they brought in a lot more talent, but is it broadly based enough to have a coherent offense and defense, especially on the lines? Did they improve the line play, or are they just going to get destroyed there? And then, I want to see how Dion handles it if they start losing. Because that's not been something he's had to encounter as a coach, and that's usually one sign of a good coach is how well do you handle when things don't go well for you. So I agree with the points. I'm with you, Dan. I'm not crazy about the anonymous criticism, but at least, again, somebody's talking about Colorado football. Wow.
Yeah. There was a lot of these anonymous coaches over in Phoenix at the Fiesta meetings back in the first week of May. A lot of coaches were chatting it up about Coach Prime and what they were doing out at Colorado, and many of them did not have nice things to say. This is what happens though when you do have new people in the college athletic space, like you might call them disruptors, right? It happens on every level too. We're talking about it on the coach level with Dion, but how about the commissioner level with guys like Brett Yormark, right? Who came out of nowhere not from the industry, kind of a disruptor. And there are a lot of colleagues of Brett Yormark and others that probably have some interesting things to say about him. There's disruptors on the athletic director level as well. Just people from outside the industry that come in and, for good or bad, do things differently and don't follow behind all. So that's probably what we're seeing happen here. And I mean, look, how many coaches have a film crew filming their every move and then posting it, and posting team meeting rooms where you're basically telling kids they're kicked off the team. It just doesn't happen. Dion's doing a lot of things that might happen behind closed doors or might not, but I mean, he's putting it out publicly, and he's doing some things in recruiting, some of it probably publicly, that coaches are uncomfortable with, and he's the disruptor in the coaching ranks right now.
Well, his son, Deion Sanders Jr., responded by saying almost that a little bit. They pray that we don't do well because they fear us. And I'm not even talking about fear us on the field, he tweeted. It's a threat to the social norms and the infrastructure of college football.
Yeah.
Yep. So yep. I agree. It's different. He's obviously looks different, has a different background, all of that. My thing is, they won quickly at FCS because they had FBS players, but he's the only guy we've ever seen be able to recruit that many FBS players to FCS. Like he got all those guys to go to Jackson State. That's what he got the job. Nobody was going to come in and win this year at Colorado.
Right.
You could have Nick Saban as your head coach, Kirby Smart as your defensive coordinator, and Urban Meyer as your offensive coordinator, and you're not winning overnight. They're 1-11. They were horrible. They lost. What was it like? Their 10 loss or 11 loss are by like 32 points a game.
Yeah,
like
the
they were not
competitive.
They were.
Well, that's
awful.
why he cleaned house, right? I mean, I think was there 60 new players or something like that? Or?
Yeah. Right. So I think the problem here, really, if there is a problem, is Prime is like, hey man, we're gonna win, and I get it. What do you say? Hey, we're open to win 3 games. Like, but I need you up at 5:30 lifting weights. Like, no, okay. But at TCU, Nebraska visits. They get Colorado State, at Oregon, USC visits, at Arizona State. That's your first 6. If you're 2-4, you're doing pretty damn well.
Yeah, you'd actually take 2 and 4 out of that.
You'd take 2 and 4 out of that.
Yeah, if they go 5-7 this year, that'll be
unbelievable. But they could get
strides.
Boat raced at Oregon. They could get. It could be awful. And so I don't. I totally get it. This guy's driving me crazy. I'm running whatever program I'm running, the Pac-12, and all anyone's talking about, including this podcast, is Coach Prime. Sure, enough. And I got to hear about this guy and the recruiting trail, all this stuff. But it'll be very interesting to see how he does when they're losing, because as bullish as I am, I thought like Auburn should have hired him, but I've been bullish on Coach Prime, but I would be stunned if he isn't losing. Right. If he does better than 2-4 by the middle of October, we're going to be applauding the hell out of him, because some of these games are really not winnable for a program like that. So anyway, interesting. He's definitely got people chatting.
He does. And I do have to say, one of the best reasons we're keeping Ross Dellenger on this podcast is because the way he says Dion. Say it, Ross. Say Dion.
Dion?
No, we need it in a more normal way, where you just kind of have that little Gulf Coast lilt at the end. Dion.
Dion. I don't know.
French. I want to hear Wetzel say pod, and I want to hear Ross say Dion for the rest of my life.
Right. The little French, the Cajun, like the Piro, and you got the Dion. Yeah, there you go. That's what you want.
All right, one last one here before we get to some other stories here. My favorite coach, Trent Dilfer, UAB. The guy just does a lot of chatting too, a lot of talking. He was on the Rick and Bubba show, and he dared Power 5 coaches to try to poach guys on his roster. Now, he previously said that he was just going to understand that, like, he's kind of was recruiting with the idea of like, come here, and then if you go to the SEC, no big deal. Like, that's kind of. But he said, by the way, try to come and take my guys. I dare you, Power 5s. I've got a pretty big platform that I can step on. And if I find you in my kids' DMs, or I find you talking to high school coaches about my kids, if you're in my roster, I'm going to call your ass out. I'm going to say it by name to the biggest voices in television today, and it's going to make Game Day. It's going to make Sports Center. What about our podcast there, Trent?
Yeah, come on.
Maybe you're not my favorite. Okay, enough with Sports.
We should have him on, maybe.
By the way, those guys that are on Sports Center are still my friends. So go ahead. I dare you to jump into my roster. So he's basically saying, I understand why they're going to go, but any tampering, he's going to be the one that's not afraid to say they're tampering. Then he said, I said, why wouldn't you guys have the you-know-whats to stand up and say, get out of my roster? He's calling these other coaches out. Here's why. It's because you want their job. But I want this job. I don't want a Power 5 job. I want this job. I want to live in Birmingham. I want to live downtown. I want to see my grandson in Nashville. I don't want the other job, so I don't care if you blackball me. I want this job. I want the city of Birmingham to say, that's our city. That's our coach. That's it, Coach Dilfer.
Wow.
Congrats to the Rick and Bubba show for getting that audio.
Speaking of disruptors, right? Speaking of disruptors, Trent Dilfer coming in.
He's right, though. They do all. Yeah. They all shut up because they don't want to be like, well, I'll get blackballed. I'll never get in the SEC if I like. Let's say, just hypothetically, Alabama did some tampering, right? Who's going to call out? I mean, look at like Saban called out. He called out Jimbo, and he had to kind of back down over it. Even like they don't do it. Delfer, he's dropping the gloves.
That's first of all, Dilfer is an elite talker. I mean, he was on ESPN for a lot of years for a reason because he's a good talker. But secondly, he is a complete outsider here. So I hope he backs this up with some actual action if people do get into his roster, which if the team's going to be good, then they will. I mean, that's an inevitability. So. Bring it on. Let's circle that for our potential fight.
No tampering.
Also, Trent Dilfer says he wants to be in Birmingham and doesn't want to seek out all these other jobs until he goes 9-3 and 10-2, and then it gets offered the Tennessee job or something. Yeah. So they all say that until the offer comes.
Sure.
We'll see. We'll see.
Everybody has the coach. Everybody has the job they've always wanted until the better job comes available.
Briefly, we're talking today. No, not actually. It's later this week. This will be our only pod this week. Friday, July 7th is National Dive Bar Day.
Yeah,
National Dive Bar. I thought that might be a holiday that many of our listeners would observe. So Friday, if you're going to go out, think about the local dive bar. I saw some lists, best dive bars I don't even know are you really a great dive bar if you make a list of the best dive bars?
That's the question. You might lose your street cred.
Yeah, you almost have to be like, no, you don't go there. Not like, right? The dive bar is one of the great places in America. Invention. Just come as you are. Right? I love, I'm basically a dive bar. I'm a living dive bar.
No, living, breathing, walking dive bar. Dan Wetzel.
You have a favorite dive bar? I got too many. I don't even know if I want to announce them all. But
Kern's Corner, man. If I were in Louisville, that's where I'd be on National Dive Bar Day.
Well, you have that opportunity.
I'm in Colorado. I'm not going to be able to be there.
All right. Send Pat some recommendations for college. You're with Denver Marv, and you could find a dive bar. The dive bar is everywhere.
Yeah, Denver Marv could be a useful resource in this.
Great dive bar, not too far from me in DC, and I always forget the name, so it was like hurriedly here looking it up. There it is. Dan's Cafe.
Yeah, there you go.
DC. At Dan's Cafe. I don't know if you guys have been to Dan's Cafe. They have the tiny little liquor bottles that you basically purchase, and then you purchase a mixer, and then they mix them for you. And sometimes they mix them for you in a ketchup or mustard squeeze bottle. They put them both in there, and then you squeeze it out into your drink, or into your mouth, directly into your mouth. So it's become quite the scene on the weekends in DC. Dan's Cafe, yeah, it's like 3 blocks north of my place here in DC. Great dive bar.
Great dive bar, yeah. I mean, I normally go to the 24 Seconds Sports Bar in Berkeley, but that's too classy of a place. Upstanding, classy, well managed, all that. You kind of need to be poorly managed, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like the first 3 beers you ask for, they don't have. They're out.
Yeah.
Like a real dive bar, and it's like, well, what do you got for food? All we have are mozzarella sticks. Like,
Mm-hmm. And you need the place to feel like it hasn't been cleaned in a couple of decades or so. You know, like like Dan's, you feel like if there's any kind of small earthquake of any kind, Dan's is like coming down on your head.
Yeah, I mean, you need that.
Ceiling tiles, hanging down, all that good stuff.
Crooked
the
floors.
bathroom is the size of a broom closet. You know.
They could fail to make the mortgage next month and be out. Like, you don't know if you're actually going to be. Yeah. So I would go with the Blarney Stone in Berkeley, Michigan. Is a definite dive bar that I enjoy greatly. Go into the Blarney Stone. Maybe I'll be there or not. We'll see. It's a quality dive. It's full dive. It is full dive, and I say it with great appreciation. Got to have an undersized pool table. Can't have like a big one.
Undersized you don't have pool table with like a beer stain on it from somebody.
Yeah. Gotta have Keno. Gotta have Keno.
Maybe some Christmas lights up, like Snake and Jake's in New Orleans. Snake and Jake's in New Orleans probably made my number 1 favorite dive bar, and had the Christmas lights strung throughout the bar year round. Maybe a Santa in the corner that hasn't been touched in like 35 years.
Right. There's a story, dollar bills on the wall. There's a story behind some weird, there's like a trophy up on the wall, like a cup, like back in '78, we won some kind of tournament with the other bar. Yeah.
Snake and Jake's, I believe, is famous for, I think they have a couple of dogs that will jump up on stools and the bartender will give them like a drink. And the dogs will drink out. The specific dog will drink out of the glass. Last time I was there, I'm pretty sure I witnessed that. I mean, I had some drinks myself, but I recall a dog drinking at the bar. I do.
Pretty sure you witnessed it. I like that.
I was partial to Evelyn's, Miss Evelyn's. I think it's called Evelyn's place. Miss Evelyn was a great friend of ours. R.I.P. Woman ran a bar in the French Quarter at like 80 years old. She'd chase people out with a broom, perfect. And and if it got, she was strapping if necessary. Test Miss Evelyn on your own time.
If I'm correct, wasn't that where the our broadcast partnership began? Didn't we consummate our first deal there?
That is true. Wow. Yes. Wow. Pat and I got offered a national radio show on the old Yahoo Sports Radio. And they wanted to have a meeting. And the level of seriousness that I took this meeting, I convened it at a bar at Miss Evelyn.
Perfect.
Yeah.
I don't know. Why did we get that job? That was really not. It wasn't. Well, that probably wasn't the right business move, but it worked. We did get the job. I think they thought we were colorful. I just wanted to drink. I was like, I don't know about this.
Does this bar still exist?
No. She died. It's next to Sneaky Pete's down there.
Well, I'm looking it up. It says Evelyn's Place.
Yeah, that was
it. Yeah, 139 Chartres Street. There you go.
It was just off the. You didn't want the mayhem of Bourbon Street. Yeah, it had all all the grime and it had quieter mayhem. It's quieter mayhem. It's made like the panhandlers over on Bourbon. They'd make their money, then they'd come over to Evelyn's and drink until they ran out of money, and they go.
That's great. That's great.
Restaurant Brands International, which oversees Popeyes and Burger King, mainly Popeyes, is vowing the upgrade in the chicken wars.
Here we go. We've had a little bit of a ceasefire in the chicken wars for a while.
Well, we had that. So we did have a listener. Boy, let me look him up. He did his service. He did. Yeah, he went to the. I'm sorry, I should have prepared.
The Panda Express in California.
Yeah,
ate the orange chicken sandwich.
Raul Sands. I don't know. I'm sorry, I can't pronounce anyone's name. Did his homework. He said it needed more sauce. He went and got the Panda Express orange chicken sandwich for us. It's just on a trial in California. So he did do that. But more importantly, this guy, Joshua Kobza, he is the CEO of Restaurant Brands International. He rightfully notes here, I think we totally changed the game of chicken sandwiches a few years back with the Popeyes chicken sandwich. For me, it's hands down the absolute best product out there in space. I agree, Joshua. I don't know why anyone would go anywhere else because our product is so amazing. Been doing some things with our chicken sandwiches as well. We just launched a blackened chicken sandwich, and we're launching more innovation around our chicken sandwich through the back half of this year.
Blackened chicken sandwich. I'm down for that.
Yeah. I like one of those.
More innovation. Because really the Popeye chicken sandwich, it's the same sandwich, just better.
Right. Yeah. It's not, there are not many bells or whistles attached to that one. I hope they don't screw it up. Keep the original, keep the flagship chicken sandwich. And then if you want to get creative, do that, spin off some satellites, but don't mess with the original.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean,
it's a good chicken sandwich. Cookout's got a good chicken sandwich.
Oh, it is
Cookout
good.
Chicken sandwiches.
Oh, yeah.
Cookout chicken sandwiches are good. Underrated.
They are good. Yep. Cookout.
Also Chick-fil-A.
Well, that's where the war began, right? It was Popeyes taking on Chick-fil-A.
Right. Yeah.
Chicken. The scientists at Chick-fil-A they must have read that story. I'm getting a little nervous. Those Yahoo Finance had that story. Good job.
See?
We'll see.
I'm ready for a new escalation. Bring it on. Since as happy as I am that Panda Express weighed in, although again I think the Kung Pao would have been better than the orange chicken, but I don't think they're going to be a disruptor, to use the phrase of the day. I think it's up to the heavyweights to really duke it out.
We had this one over the weekend. Happy ending here to this story. A Massachusetts woman who had been missing for a week was rescued Monday after she was found stuck in mud in a state park south of Boston. Emma Tatursky, 31, was found 6 p.m. Monday after police officers were dispatched to Borderland State Park, where hikers said they heard a woman screaming for help in a swamp-like area.
God.
Authorities believe she may have been trapped in the mud for 3 days.
No.
Oh, that's bad.
She went hiking and went through the swamp and voomp, stuck. She's apparently fine.
Really? I would say the mental anguish would be significant.
How far down was she submerged? Does it say? God.
I'll look for more details here, but what
mosquitoes, animals, I can't imagine. Yeah, that sounds miserable.
Yeah, we need more reportage on that.
I got an update. I got an update here.
Yeah, get the Daily Mail on
New York Post is New York Post is on it. Let's see if we got any. Yeah, 3 cops and an ATV waded through thick brush and swamped and found her and then dislodged her from the mud. Took the fire department. What in the world? The mosquito bites.
Nothing.
Yeah.
So the one thing I this actually lends some credence to. Remember how many shows, though you guys are too young, but like in the 60s and 70s, how many shows had quicksand in them? Like all the time. It was every adventure show. People were sinking into quicksand. So eventually they'd either, barely be rescued or they'd die. They'd submerge. Yeah. This is maybe like the middle ground where you're just stuck halfway in, halfway out. So it's good to know it can actually happen, but bad for this woman that it did happen. How far off the trail was she? First of all, what are you doing?
Apparently pretty good. She went through a swamp. That couldn't have been the trail. Her mom did an interview with WBZ in Boston. She called out for help. She said, I need help. I'm still in disbelief after a week that she could even do that because she didn't have food and she's pretty dehydrated. It was traumatic to be stuck in the mud for as long as she was, I would say.
Yeah. 3 days.
What?
3 hours would be traumatic.
If you're missing a week, you got to assume she's dead. Like, oh my God.
Yeah.
But what was she doing the first 4 days?
I don't know. It says she was missing for a full week.
I guess.
And 3 of those days were in the mud. Something's a little odd there.
We need more update. I'm not. Oh, she made it up or something.
Daily Mail.
Where's the Daily Mail on this? I don't know. Absolutely horrible. 3 days in the mud. So how was your 4th of July weekend? It wasn't as bad as this lady's.
No kidding.
Oh,
You think the Pac-12 media rights deal stuck in the mud? This woman's really stuck in the mud.
Yeah. At what point would you give up?
I don't know. I mean, how do you even give up? You just lay your head down and die?
I guess you're just going to starve to death. You're literally waiting to starve or dehydrate to death. Is that possible?
Yeah. I mean, she probably only had another day or two as far as dehydration, probably. Yeah. Where was this at? Right. It was probably hot, right?
Massachusetts. Oh, and it poured rain, probably. Like, imagine that one. You're just sitting there getting poured on. But I guess then you get some. You'd want that. Yeah.
Open up your mouth.
All right, Emma, congratulations. You're our hero of the week. You survived the mud.
For sure.
Hopefully someone takes you out to a dive bar to rehydrate.
Yes, that's exactly what she needs after 3 days in the mud. Dehydration is alcohol, Dan.
Yeah.
She's got a couple days until Friday. This woman needs to take Emma out on the town. I mean,
if I were Emma, I would not leave the house for like 6 months.
Yeah, no
way.
Yeah. Like, I would not cross a patch of grass for. I'm like, no.
Yeah, I'm not going
sidewalk
hiking again, that's for sure.
Concrete and asphalt only.
Yeah. You want to go for a walk? Do it on a high school track. Go around a little circle. No one's going to lose you. It's quarter mile. Oh, man. All right. Well, that's our show. Unless something big happens, we'll be back next Monday. Appreciate it. I know a lot of people on vacation this week and all that. Thanks for sticking with us. Continue to subscribe, share us on social media, tell your friends about us, and need all the listeners we can get, and enjoy National Dive Bar Day on Friday. We will talk to you later.